Hello YouTube and welcome to a brand new episode of $1,000 Car Guy. This episode's going to be a big one. That's right, we're going to try and tackle this wiring harness. Well, we're at least going to get a real big jump on it. The goal of today is to snip off all of the extra connectors that we have in this harness. At least the majority of them. I know what some of them do, but not what all of them do. But to start off, there are still 3 connectors that I need to make sure that I actually need. And these were the 3. I'm not sure why I didn't test this when we were actually inside the car, but it should be a lot easier to test now. So I'm going to hook up the battery, try unplugging these one at a time to see if I actually need them to run the car, and then if not, they're gone. This first test is just going to be a baseline to make sure that the car still starts from 2 days ago. That's a good sign. The next thing I'm going to do is unplug connector number 1. I have it labeled as connector number 1 and see if it still starts. No, it does not. So we will go ahead and plug connector number 1 back together. Next up, I have connector number 2. So we're going to unplug that and repeat the test. Seems to run fine without connector number 2 plugged in. Let's go for connector number 3. So my guess is connector number 3 has part of the fuel pump in line. Connector number 3 is plugged back in along with connector number 1, but connector number 2 is not plugged in. So there you have it. So I'm honestly not sure what the best way to film this process is. As you can see, some of this old tape and wiring loom is still on the harnesses, especially down here. You can see all of this. Basically, all of that has to be removed for me to do what I want to do, because this line is running into this harness, but I don't need this line anymore. But once I clip this off, I want to be able to follow that wire all the way back to wherever it goes, and then clip it off at that connector as well. So maybe we'll have to do some sort of montage with all of this. I think the first thing I'm going to do is start with the longest line, which is probably going to be the most time consuming. Unplug it from the fuel pump and start there. It's a lot of tape to remove. The other nice thing about this process is I'm going to be removing all of these plastic connectors that Ford used to hold all of these harnesses in. So here's basically the summary of the process before really getting started. I wonder if I should label these. I don't need this one, but I should definitely label this. This is the one to the fuel pump. See, just like that. Also, any other connector that is still plugged in, I'm going to have to label because obviously I need it. I think I should have a knife for this process. What would be wonderful is if I could find the end of this thing so I could start there, instead of trying to start from underneath or halfway through. I can see this job already is going to be a lot of fun, and who would have thought I'd be sweating already just from undoing tape from a connector. There, we finally found one of the edges. So, there you go. It's going to be like that, but about 10,000 times more. So, let's pick up when I get a little bit further ahead with this project. I do have some luxuries on this show. I found a stool to sit on.
So I got that going for me, which is nice.
As you can see, we are making some progress with this. It's amazing, there's actually like 2 or 3 different types of tape that Ford used to hold everything together. Some of the tape comes right off, some of it is like hot glue stuck to the wires. But anyway, I am continuing to start the car every now and then. I plug back in the fuel pump harness and then make sure that the car still runs. Update time! Of course, I know it's all instantaneous for you. There seems to be 3 main wires going to the fuel pump now. And I will be able to probably get rid of this extra switch since I don't really need it. It's just going to be something to fail on me on the way down the road, so I'll probably snip these 2 and solder them together. I theoretically can get rid of the orange wire, Well, and a few other wires up at this end. So this harness will even get less populated as we go along. Sure does look like a lot less wires now though, doesn't it? The next thing I need to do is unwrap some of the ones at the top there, those two loose ones. Obviously anything unplugged right now I don't need. I know I keep saying that, but it is the mantra now. So I'm going to trace them back and then hopefully remove some more in this giant bundle. Just trying to lessen the fuel pump harness. This is how much tape I have and covers and connectors. And then here's the wiring that I have pulled out so far. So this is kind of interesting slash neat slash annoying. So I'm still finding connectors that I have plugged in that I haven't actually tested. So we will have to get to those another night. I just undid a huge part. Well, actually, let me show you. I just undid a huge connector, one of the mains that I thought was important. So now I can pull the majority of a lot of these wires out. So that's what we're gonna do right now. We just gotta tug on the right ones, is all. That's not one of them. Alright, make me look like an idiot. Here's a bunch. Lots of pink wires. Bars. We're gonna have to sort all them again. We're just thinning out the herd. Trimming the fat, as I said in the other episode. Wow. We're trimming a lot of fat, actually. That's good. That's real good. Jeez, I almost disconnected this entire harness already. Well, let's gussy up that connector just a little bit more. Not a lot of good that's doing right now. So all that was left of that one connector was this one brown and tan wire. So I just went ahead and lopped it off, started the car, and it ran fine. So we can now take that whole connector out. But first I need to trace all of these wires and where they go and lop them off at their source. Those are all the ones I just pulled across the top of the windshield there. So I just made my first mistake after 2 hours of slicing and dicing. I cut the, I don't know, well, it's the white yellowish wire, but it might be like a neutral or something. But that runs to the fuel pump. So I didn't want to cut that, so now I'm going to solder it back together with my trusty kit. I am by no means good at soldering, but I've made it this far, so please excuse my poor techniques while I get this done. Like I said, not pretty, but it should work. We're certainly slimming down this wiring harness, and there's a lot left to do, so there's only going to end up being like 4 wires that run this whole thing. Check out our piles. That is a lot of tape bits. And lots of spare wires and connectors for future projects. So we're going to wrap this episode up before I screw up anything else for the evening. I'm going to start the car and then, well, basically go eat dinner. Okay, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.